My name is Ethan Carter. At 36, I am proud of the life I have built in Greenfield, Oregon. As a high school physics teacher, I have always seen my job as more than a job, but as a calling to inspire young minds. My wife, Rachel, and I have been through a lot together during our 10 years of marriage. Rachel is an art teacher at the same school, a talented and charming woman with reddish brown hair and captivating blue eyes. When she smiles, everything seems to light up. We lived in a small two-story house with a lavender garden that Rachel tended carefully every afternoon. Our life was peaceful, or at least, that's what I thought. Things started to change a few weeks ago when Rachel announced that she would be attending a 5-day education conference in Chicago. She was excited, talking about the opportunity to learn from leading experts and connect with teachers from across the country. I supported her wholeheartedly. As a husband, I've always been proud of Rachel's career and wanted her to have opportunities to grow. But something is wrong. The morning Rachel got ready to leave, I stood in the bedroom doorway, watching her as she picked out what to pack. Rachel seemed to have put more effort than usual into her outfit. The tight red dress I bought her for our anniversary last year was carefully folded, along with the lacy lingerie she rarely wore. I noticed the expensive perfume Rachel had sprayed around her neck, a gift I'd given her on her recent birthday. "You're bringing this special thing too?" I asked, half joking, when I saw the strange items in the suitcase. Rachel smiled, but there was something unnatural in her eyes. "I'm not sure if there'll be a formal dinner, so let's just prepare in advance," she replied, her voice soft but not entirely convincing. Rachel spent more time than usual on her makeup that morning. I watched her silently from the kitchen door, a strange feeling rising in my stomach. Rachel was always beautiful, but today she was taking more care than ever. Her blue eyes sparkled with an excitement I didn't understand. "Are you sure it's okay if I'm gone for that long?" Rachel asked as she walked down the stairs, dragging her suitcase behind her. "Of course," I smiled, hiding my annoyance. "I'll call you every night, right?" Rachel nodded, confusion flickering in her eyes. She hugged me, her kiss an invisible promise. "You know I'll miss you," she whispered, before walking out. I stood at the window, watching Rachel drive away. The sunlight hit her small silver car, making me squint. The house suddenly became eerily quiet. I told myself I was overthinking things. Rachel was a woman I loved and trusted. She had never done anything to make me doubt her, but the uneasiness was still there, like a ghost that wouldn't go away. About an hour later, as I was getting ready for my afternoon class, my phone on my desk vibrated. I glanced at the screen, expecting a text from Rachel, telling me she had arrived safely at the airport. Instead, it was an unfamiliar number. I opened the message and read, "Your wife is not who you think she is. Check the guest list at the Palmer Hotel, Chicago." My heart stopped for a moment. I reread the message, trying to make sense of it. Who sent this? And why? I quickly dismissed the idea that it was a prank. Someone must know something I didn't. I put my phone down, trying to focus on the lecture ahead, but my mind couldn't get away from those words. Rachel had never lied to me. I was sure of that. But why did this text make me feel so uneasy? The afternoon passed in a blur. I kept checking my messages, hoping Rachel would text or call to dispel this feeling of doubt. But nothing. As the night wore on, I couldn't stand it anymore. I turned on my laptop and searched the Palmer Hotel's website. I entered the event information Rachel had mentioned. There were no matching conferences. I double-checked, trying to find a typo or mistake. Still nothing. I frowned, the unease turning into genuine worry. For the first time in 10 years, I felt suspicious of Rachel, but I didn't want to believe it. I opened Rachel's digital calendar, trying to find more information. In addition to the education seminar event on the calendar, I saw another entry, A&M project. My heart sank. A&M was the initials of Adam Miller, Rachel's co-worker. Adam was the new gym teacher, the one Rachel had been talking about a lot lately. The truth began to come together like pieces of a horrifying puzzle. Rachel hadn't just lied about the trip. She was hiding something much bigger from me. I took a deep breath, trying to contain my emotions. But deep down, I knew something had changed forever. As I stared at the words, Project A&M, on Rachel's calendar, an indescribable feeling crept over me. It could just be a coincidence, I told myself, but some part of me couldn't ignore it. The pieces of the past few months began to fall into place. Rachel coming home later than usual, her new clothes that were different from her usual style, and the way she kept her phone on her at all times. Trying not to let my emotions get the better of me, I decided to investigate further. Rachel was always careful, but she didn't hide everything. I opened the drawer of her desk in her home office. Inside, among the teaching materials and student sketches, I found a small card. It was a folded piece of paper, decorated with a simple but elegant pattern. When I opened it, the familiar handwriting caught my eye. Rachel, I can't wait for the weekend to see you. You are my inspiration and passion. A. Ah, I didn't have to guess long before I knew it was Adam Miller. My hand shook as I held the card. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. What I feared most was now before my eyes. I asked myself, why? Why did Rachel do this to me? After all we had been through together, why did she choose to betray? But the pain quickly turned to determination. I needed to know the truth, the whole truth. If Rachel was really cheating on me, I needed concrete proof. And I knew I couldn't do this alone. I called Sarah, my best friend from college. Sarah is an investigative journalist who lives in Portland, about 2 hours away. I knew she had the skills and resources to help me solve this problem. Ethan? Sarah picked up on the second ring. Is everything okay? You sound worried. No, Sarah, it's not okay, I said, my voice hoarse. I need your help. I told Sarah everything, from the anonymous message to finding the card. Sarah listened without interrupting, only occasionally sighing or muttering something. Are you sure, Ethan? I don't want you to jump to conclusions without solid evidence, Sarah said, her voice serious but sympathetic. That's why I called you, I replied. I needed to find out. I didn't want to believe it, but all the signs pointed in one direction. Sarah was silent for a moment, then said, Okay, I'll help you. Send me everything you have, messages, cards, and any information regarding Rachel's whereabouts. Over the next few hours, Sarah and I worked together. I sent her a photo of the card and information about the Palmer Hotel. Sarah used her connections to check the guest list there, but there was no Rachel Carter or Adam Miller listed. Instead, Sarah found another clue, a reservation under a false name at the Oceana Beach Resort in California. Ethan, I think I found them, Sarah said over the phone. Can you sit down? It felt like the world stopped spinning as Sarah explained. Rachel and Adam had booked a room together, under false names, at one of the most exclusive resorts in California. Not only that, the reservation had been timed exactly to coincide with Rachel's conference trip. Are you sure? I asked, my voice shaking. As sure as the sun rises in the east, Sarah replied. Now what? What are you going to do? I didn't answer right away. My mind was spinning with thoughts and emotions, but deep down, I knew I couldn't let this go on without a confrontation. Rachel and Adam thought they could cheat on me and get away with it. They thought I would always be the blind, trusting husband. They were wrong. I'll be there, I said after a moment of silence. I need to confront them, but I want to do it the right way. No emotional outbursts, no losing control. I want to get the facts straight. Ethan, are you sure? Sarah asked, her voice filled with concern. This is going to be hard. I don't want you to do anything you'll regret. I'm sure, I insisted. Sarah, can you help me? I need a plan, and I need you there. Fine, Sarah said after a sigh. If you want to fight, I'll be your teammate. And so we began to prepare. I booked a room at the Oceana Beach Resort under Sarah's name to avoid suspicion. Sarah helped me arrange for a small video camera to record everything. She also contacted Adam's wife, Emily, to arrange a video call when we arrived. I wanted Emily to know the truth, as well as me. As I lay in bed that night, I couldn't sleep. Images of Rachel and Adam replayed over and over in my head. Their every word, their every smile, now a mockery. But instead of letting the pain overwhelm me, I told myself that I would not let myself be defeated. Rachel and Adam had chosen their path. Now, I would choose mine. I spent the next day preparing for the trip to Oceana Beach Resort. Even though Sarah had arranged everything from the room to the filming equipment, I still felt the need to prepare myself mentally. This wasn't just a confrontation with Rachel and Adam. It was also a chance to regain my dignity. to prove that I wasn't some fool they could fool. I left Greenfield early that morning in my old pickup truck. The road stretched out before me, with vast fields and rolling hills on either side. Sometimes I felt like a soldier heading into battle, where the enemy was not only the people who had betrayed me, but also the pain churning inside me. But I refused to back down. Sarah called me as we neared the California border. "Ethan, are you ready?" she asked. Her tone was cautious, as if she feared I might change my mind at any moment. "I'm not sure ready is the right word," I replied, my eyes never leaving the road ahead. "But I know I have to do this." "Don't forget why you're here," Sarah said, her voice low but encouraging. "You deserve to know the truth, and Rachel needs to face the consequences." Sarah wasn't just the friend I needed right now. She was also my rock when I felt like I couldn't stand on my own. She helped me plan every detail, from when to show up to how to approach Rachel and Adam without causing too much chaos. But deep down, I knew there was no way to avoid the emotional blow-up that would come when I faced the truth. As I arrived at the resort, the sky was tinged with red by the setting sun. The Oceana Beach Resort was breathtakingly beautiful. Elegant white buildings set in tropical gardens, overlooking a long stretch of white sand beach. The perfect place for a romantic getaway. The thought made me ache. Sarah arrived first and waited for me at the reception desk. She was wearing a simple dress, but her eyes were filled with determination. "Are you okay?" she asked as I approached. "I'll be fine," I replied, trying to stay calm. We quickly checked in and took the elevator. Sarah handed me a small bag containing my filming equipment. "Just put this in the right place," she explained. "We'll have all the evidence you need." I nodded, but my mind was in turmoil. The thought of knocking on Rachel and Adam's door, seeing them together like this, made me want to give up. But I knew this was not the time to be weak. After settling into our room, Sarah and I began to look over the resort's layout. According to Sarah's information, Rachel and Adam's room was on the 3rd floor, not far from ours. We decided to make our move the next morning, when everything was ready, and I could control my emotions. That night, I lay in bed, listening to the sound of the ocean waves crashing outside my window. It should have been a moment of relaxation and peace, but my mind was filled with memories and questions. I wondered, how did things get to this point? Why didn't Rachel tell me if she was unhappy? What did I do wrong? I knew that no answer could make me feel better. The only thing I could do was face the truth, no matter how painful it was. The next morning, I woke up early, the sunlight filtering through the thin curtains in my hotel room. I stood by the window, looking out at the deserted beach. The waves lapped gently against the sand, creating a peaceful scene that was a complete contrast to the storm raging inside me. Today was the day I would face Rachel and Adam. The truth was no longer hidden, and I would not let them continue to deceive me. Sarah knocked on my door right on time. She was carrying 2 cups of coffee and a determined look in her eyes. "Ready?" she asked, handing me one. "It's going to be a long day." "I don't know if there are words to describe how I feel right now," I replied, reaching for my coffee without drinking it. "But I know I can't back down." "You're not alone," Sarah said, putting her hand on my shoulder. "Remember, I'm here to support you. If things get out of hand, I'll step in." I nodded, impressed by Sarah's determination. After reviewing the plan, we checked the small video camera Sarah had brought with her. The camera was cleverly disguised, small enough to fit into a corner of the wall near Rachel and Adam's room without anyone noticing. "This is the best way for us to gather evidence," Sarah said. "You don't have to argue. Just let them expose themselves." Around mid-morning, we stepped into the elevator and rode up to the 3rd floor. I could feel my heart pounding harder with each rising number. As the elevator doors opened, I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. The hallway was carpeted with soft carpets, and the soft lighting from the wall lamps gave it a luxurious feel. It all seemed to mock me, as if the space was part of a play they were staging. Sarah pointed down the hall. "Their room is over there," she whispered. I nodded, my nerves rising. As I neared the door, I could hear giggling inside. Rachel's voice, soft but familiar, made me choke. "I'll set up the cameras here," Sarah whispered, quickly doing her job. I stood guard, trying not to let the laughter inside get the better of me. When Sarah was finished, she gestured to me. "Done. Now it's up to you." I stood at the door, my hand raised to knock, but paused. For a moment, I wondered if I really wanted to know. But then I remembered the anonymous text, the card in Rachel's desk, and the pain I'd endured all those days. I took a deep breath and knocked hard on the door. The laughter inside stopped. I heard footsteps approaching the door. It opened, and there stood Rachel, dressed in a thin, cream-colored silk dress. Her face froze when she saw me. Ethan? She stuttered, her eyes wide with shock and panic. Hi, Rachel, I said, my voice calmer than I thought it would be. You seem comfortable? Can I come in? Before Rachel could reply, I walked past her and into the room. The sight before me felt like someone had stabbed me in the heart. Adam was standing near the bed, wearing shorts and an open shirt, clearly relaxed. His face paled when he saw me. Ethan, this isn't what you think, Rachel said quickly, her voice shaking. Not what I thought? I turned to look at her, my hurt and anger beginning to show. So explain, what were you doing here, with Adam, when you told me you were in Chicago for a conference? Rachel looked down, unable to answer. Adam stepped forward, trying to regain his composure. Listen, Ethan, we're just here to discuss an art project. I laughed, a dry, sarcastic laugh. Really? An art project? At this luxury resort? While we both checked in under fake names? The air in the room seemed to freeze. Rachel and Adam looked at each other, clearly trying to come up with an excuse. But it was all meaningless. I had enough evidence to know the truth. Sarah stood near the door, holding her phone. She nodded at me, indicating that everything was recorded. I turned to look at Rachel, her eyes filled with guilt and panic. But I didn't feel pity, only disappointment and pain. Rachel, I said, my voice low but firm, I didn't come here to argue. I just want to know one thing. Why? Rachel opened her mouth as if to reply, but no words came out. In that moment, I realized that she had no reason to justify her betrayal, and I didn't need to hear anymore. The room fell into an awkward silence. Rachel stood still, her eyes on the floor, avoiding my gaze. Adam stood beside her, trying to appear calm but clearly nervous. I took a few steps into the middle of the room, not taking my eyes off them. The air seemed so heavy that I had to take deep breaths to keep myself from exploding. Again? Why? My voice was low and sharp. I knew I didn't need to shout. My calm, even if it was only on the surface, was enough to unsettle Rachel. Ethan, I can explain, Rachel began, but her voice was shaky and broken. This isn't what you think. Not what you think? I repeated, stepping closer. So tell me, Rachel, what do you think? That your wife, whom you trusted for the past 10 years, is lying to you to sneak off on vacation with her co-workers? Or that I tricked you into being here with Adam? How stupid do you think I am? Rachel opened her mouth, but no words came out. She stood there, her hands clasped together, her eyes darting around as if searching for an escape route. Adam, standing next to her, suddenly tried to speak. Ethan, you're overreacting, Adam said, his voice defensive. We're just taking a break. It's nothing like what you think. I turned to Adam, my eyes burning into his. Really, Adam? You mean to tell me that the two of you just happened to choose this luxury resort to rest? Just happened to use fake names to check in? And just happened to stay in the same room? He was silent, without answer. Anger flared inside me, but I held it in. I had not come here to scream or fight. I had come to face the truth, and force them to face it. I don't need you to explain anything, I said, pulling my phone from my pocket, because luckily, it was all recorded. Rachel started, her eyes wide. Record? What did you say? Sarah, who had been standing near the door since the beginning, stepped forward and held up her phone. That's right, she said, her voice calm but firm. We recorded this entire conversation. Ethan doesn't need to defend himself. Everything you said was self-incriminating. Rachel looked at me, her eyes going from confusion to panic. Ethan, you can't do this. Don't make a big deal out of this. It will destroy us. Ruin us? I raised my eyebrows, smiling sarcastically. Rachel, there is no us anymore. You ruined everything when you decided to betray me. My words hit Rachel like a punch. She stepped back, her lips pressed together. Adam stepped forward, trying to look tough. Ethan, Do you think making a big deal out of this is going to make things better? You're letting your emotions get the best of you. I turned to him, my eyes cold as ice. You don't understand, Adam. This isn't about my feelings. This is about the truth. You think you can lie and no one will know? You think I'll stand by and let you two ruin my life? Adam didn't answer. He just stood there, silent, because he knew there was nothing more to say. Rachel, next to him, tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled back. Don't touch me, I said, my voice low but sharp as a knife. You have no right to do that anymore. The room fell silent again. I turned to Sarah and nodded. That's enough. Let's go. Sarah nodded and began packing up her gear. Before I left, I turned back to Rachel one last time. I loved you, Rachel, but love isn't blind. It's trust, and you destroyed that. We left Rachel in Adam's room, leaving them in a heavy silence and obvious fear. Sarah and I walked down the hall without saying a word, but I could feel the empathy in her eyes. My heart pounded, not with fear, but with determination. We had taken the first step, but there was more to do. Back in her room, Sarah began preparing for a video call with Adam's wife, Emily. She adjusted the camera and tested the connection, making sure everything was working properly. I sat next to her, my hands clasped on my knees, trying to stay calm. Ethan, are you sure you want to do this? Sarah asked, her eyes searching. Emily has a right to know the truth, but I want to make sure you're ready to face this. I don't think anyone is really ready for this, I replied, my voice low. But Emily deserves to know. She needs to understand who she's trusted all this time. Sarah nodded, then pressed the call button. The screen lit up, and after a few seconds, Emily's face appeared. She looked radiant, but a little surprised to see me and Sarah. Sarah? Ethan? What's wrong? Is something wrong? Emily asked, her voice laced with concern. Emily, I said, my voice shaking slightly but firm. I need to talk to you. There are some things you need to know about Adam. Emily's expression changed instantly. Her eyes narrowed, and I could see she was trying to keep her composure. What happened? Did he have something to do with Adam? I looked at Sarah, and she nodded encouragingly. I took a deep breath and began to talk. I told Emily about what I had discovered. The anonymous text, the handwritten card, Adam and Rachel staying at the resort together. I held nothing back, even though I knew every word I said was like a knife stabbing into her heart. Emily sat silently, eyes wide, as I finished. She didn't say anything for a moment, but I could see tears starting to run down her cheeks. Ethan, I don't know what to say, she whispered, her voice choking. I can't believe he did this. I trusted him. I understand how you feel, I said, trying to keep my voice even. I trusted Rachel too, and this is a shock to me. But I think you deserve to know the truth, so you can make your own decision. Emily nodded, trying to wipe away her tears. Thank you, Ethan. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I know I need to face Adam. Before the call ended, Emily added, You were very brave to face this, Ethan. I hope we can both get through it. After we ended the call, Sarah turned back to me, her eyes filled with emotion. You did great, Ethan, she said. I know it wasn't easy, but you did the right thing. I just want the truth to come out, I replied, looking out the window at the gentle ocean waves. Not just for me, but for people like Emily who deserve to live in the truth. That evening, Sarah and I decided to have dinner at the resort's main restaurant. It wasn't a happy or celebratory meal, but rather a way to close the chapter. We chose a table in the corner, away from the gaze of the others, but as we sat down, I noticed Rachel and Adam enter the restaurant. Their eyes met mine for a brief moment before they quickly looked away, clearly trying to avoid me. Are you going to say anything? Sarah asked, her voice thoughtful. I don't need it, I said, taking a sip of water. It's all clear. They'll have to live with the consequences of their actions. As we left the restaurant, I turned to look at Rachel one last time. She wasn't looking at me. Her eyes were blank, as if she was facing a reality she never wanted. I knew it was over between us. There was nothing left to save. As the screen lit up and Emily's face appeared, I could see a mixture of worry and confusion in her eyes. Emily was a charming young woman, with an air of confidence that now seemed to be wavering. Sarah sat next to me, gesturing encouragingly as I began. Emily, thank you for taking this call, I said, my voice heavy. I don't know how to begin, but I think you deserve to know the truth. Emily frowned. Ethan, what's going on? Does it have something to do with Adam? I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice calm. Emily, I found out that Adam and my wife, Rachel, were staying together at this resort. They lied to you and me, using fake names to cover up their relationship. I know it's hard to believe, but I have proof. I quietly held my phone up to the camera, playing the video Sarah and I had just recorded. Emily stared at the screen, her eyes wide as Rachel and Adam's words rang out through the speaker. When the video ended, she put her hand over her mouth, as if trying to stop a sob from escaping. I can't believe it, Emily whispered. I trusted him. I didn't think he could do this. I know this is painful, I said, my voice low. I'm in the same situation as you, but I think you have a right to know the truth, so you can make your own decision. Emily was silent for a moment, tears rolling down her cheeks. Finally, she said, her voice trembling, Thank you, Ethan. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I know that I can't go on like this. Adam, he broke my trust. I'm sorry, Emily, I replied, feeling her pain echo in my heart. If you need anything, Sarah and I are here to help. Before the call ended, Emily looked straight at me, her eyes filled with determination. You were very brave, Ethan. I hope we both get through this. As the screen dimmed, Sarah looked at me with sympathy. You did well, she said, putting her hand on my shoulder. Emily will need time, but she will be fine. And so will you. I nodded, feeling a small sense of relief. We had done everything we could to bring the truth to light. Now it was up to Emily and myself. The fallout from the revelation spread like wildfire through the small Greenfield community. The news of Rachel and Adam's affair spread far beyond the immediate community, becoming the talk of every street corner, coffee shop, and schoolyard. The two became the focus of criticism from both the community and their peers. First, at the high school where we worked, the school board held an emergency meeting to address the incident, and I was called in to testify. Rachel and Adam, on the other hand, were placed on temporary leave while the investigation took place. When the evidence I provided was presented, the board had no choice but to make a decision. Rachel and Adam would no longer be employed at the school. Instead, they faced the possibility of being reassigned to another job, a punishment that was roughly equivalent to expulsion in our small educational community. Those who once saw Rachel as a talented teacher now turned against her. She lost the trust of students, parents, and even colleagues who once admired her. Adam was no better. His cover-ups and weak excuses only made people more angry. They not only broke the trust of their families, but also damaged the image of the very school they once proudly served. Rachel tried to contact me several times after the affair broke. She texted, called, and even tried to meet me at home. But I had nothing left to say to her. In one final message, she wrote, Ethan, I know I've hurt you more than I can ever fix, but please give me a chance to make it up to you. I read the message, but didn't respond. A second chance was no longer within our reach. Adam, on the other hand, avoided me completely. Perhaps he understood that no excuse would be enough. I heard from friends that he had left Greenfield, perhaps to escape the shame, but that escape could not change the consequences of his actions. Even though I no longer cared about them, I knew that both Rachel and Adam had suffered heavy losses. Not only had they lost their jobs and the trust of their community, but they had also lost what was most important to them, their self-respect. Greenfield, with its unforgiving judgment, had become a place where they could no longer survive. After the first few weeks of chaos, as things settled down, I realized it was time to start over. While the wounds from Rachel's betrayal still hurt, I didn't want to live in bitterness. Life went on, and I had to find a way to rebuild it in my own way. Life in Greenfield, once a place of peace, is now a jumble of memories. I can't walk through the school hallways without hearing the whispers of students and colleagues. Many are supportive, but there are also many looks of pity. I know they don't mean it, but their concern only deepens my hurt. This small community is now a mirror that reflects every detail of a story I'd rather forget. One weekend evening, as I was sitting alone in the living room, the phone rang. It was Sarah. Ethan, I just heard from a friend in Seattle, she began, her voice full of excitement. They're hiring a physics teacher for a science and technology high school. It's a great opportunity. I think you should consider it. I was silent for a moment, trying to digest the information. Seattle? I asked, feeling a new thought forming in my head. Yes, Sarah said. I know it's not easy leaving Greenfield, but maybe this is your chance to start over. A new environment, a new job, and a life not surrounded by painful memories. The idea was a ray of light in the darkness. I had never considered leaving Greenfield. This was my home, where I had built my career and dreamed of the perfect family. But maybe Sarah was right. Maybe to heal, I needed to step outside my comfort zone to find a place where I could reinvent myself. A few days later, I decided to apply. The hiring process was faster than I expected. With my resume and experience, I received a job offer in just 2 weeks. One morning, when I received an official email from the school in Seattle, I knew I'd made the right decision. It was more than just a job. It was a new beginning. I spent my final weeks in Greenfield preparing for my departure. I packed my things, sold the house Rachel and I had shared, and said goodbye to the people who had supported me. While I knew it was necessary to leave, I couldn't deny that leaving this small town was bittersweet. One afternoon, as I was packing the last boxes, Rachel came in. She stood in the doorway, looking smaller and more vulnerable than ever. "Ethan, I heard you were leaving," she said, her voice breaking. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I know I ruined everything." I looked at her for a long moment, trying to find the right words. "Rachel, I don't hate you," I said, my voice calmer than I thought it would be. "But love isn't the only thing that keeps a marriage alive. It also takes honesty, respect, and trust. And we've lost all of those." She burst into tears, but I didn't go to comfort her. I'd done it too many times before, and I knew now that letting us both face the consequences was the best thing for both of us. It was raining lightly the day I arrived in Seattle, but somehow that was a relief. The city was a far cry from Greenfield, bustling, busy, and filled with unfamiliar faces. I found a small apartment near campus that was cozy enough to call home. Work at the new school started the following week. It was a science and technology-focused high school where students were encouraged to explore and create. It was exactly the environment I had dreamed of. When I first walked into the school's state-of-the-art labs, I felt like a part of me had come alive. I quickly integrated myself into the new teaching staff. They are passionate about their work, full of energy and creativity. The students are not only smart, but also curious, always asking challenging questions that make me think. Every day at work, I feel like I am contributing to building a better future. As busy as I am with my new life, I have not forgotten the lessons of my past. My marriage to Rachel has taught me that love is not just a feeling, but a responsibility, a daily choice to be honest and respectful of each other. I have lost, but I have also learned how to rise from the ashes. One day, while I was correcting a test in my office, I received a letter from Emily. In it, she thanked me for helping her face the truth and told me that she was filing for a divorce. "I'm not sure I would have been strong without you," she wrote. "Thank you for helping me find the courage." That letter reminded me that every pain can be a catalyst for change, and sometimes broken pieces can create a new picture, more beautiful, stronger. Now, as I stand before the classroom, looking into the hopeful eyes of my students, I realize that life keeps moving forward. I am no longer a man who was betrayed, but a man who is rebuilding his life, step by step. This is not the end. This is the beginning.